Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur known for his ambitious ventures and, often controversial public statements, has officially departed from his advisory role within the United States government. News of his exit, which was confirmed on May 28, 2025, sent ripples through both political and tech circles. Musk himself announced the end of his tenure, stating on his social media platform X that his scheduled time had concluded. This departure marks the end of a brief but notably turbulent period where one of the world's most watched businessmen attempted to navigate the complex corridors of Washington, D.C., a move that many observers had watched with keen interest and in some cases, considerable skepticism from the very beginning. The significance of Musk's departure really cannot be understated, primarily because of the high-profile nature of his involvement and the expectations, both positive and negative, that accompanied his appointment. He was brought in as a special government employee to advise President Donald Trump, a role that promised to inject a dose of Silicon Valley dynamism into federal operations. His specific focus was an initiative aimed at tackling government inefficiency. The implications of his leaving are now being debated, with questions arising about the future of the projects he was involved with, and the broader relationship between the tech industry and the current administration. A relationship often characterized by a mixture of collaboration and tension. His 4-month stint was anything but quiet. True to his reputation, Musk brought a disruptive energy to his government role, an approach that reportedly reshaped some traditional dynamics within the Capitol. However, this very disruptiveness also led to friction. He was never one to shy away from voicing his opinions, even when they ran contrary to established government positions or the views of other senior officials. This created an environment of constant speculation about how long his advisory position would last, given his typically independent and often unpredictable operational style when leading his own major corporations like Tesla and SpaceX. As Washington processes this latest development, attention naturally shifts to what comes next. For the government, questions linger about the momentum of the DOGE initiative without Musk's direct involvement. For Elon Musk, the focus returns squarely to his vast business empire, particularly Tesla, which has faced its own set of challenges recently. His brief period in public service adds another unique chapter to his already colorful career, leaving behind a trail of discussions about the potential and perhaps the pitfalls of integrating unconventional figures from the private sector into the structured world of governance. The coming weeks will likely offer more clarity on these fronts. Elon Musk's decision to join the government as an advisor wasn't entirely out of the blue for those who follow his pronouncements on efficiency and his critiques of bureaucratic bloat. He accepted the role of a special government employee with the stated aim of assisting President Donald Trump. The core mission was to lend his expertise to the DOGE initiative. This initiative, as understood from various reports, was primarily designed to identify and significantly reduce wasteful government spending. The idea was that Musk, known for his aggressive cost-cutting measures at Tesla and SpaceX, could bring a fresh, perhaps even radical perspective to an age-old problem that has plagued successive administrations. The DOGE initiative itself, while not extensively detailed in public documents, was championed as a serious effort to streamline federal expenditures. Musk's role within this framework was to act as a high-level consultant, bringing his problem-solving skills to bear on complex budgetary issues. He was expected to challenge conventional thinking and propose innovative solutions, much like he has done in the automotive and aerospace industries. The White House likely hoped that his celebrity status and reputation for achieving difficult goals would galvanize efforts and bring a new level of public attention and perhaps even support to the often unpopular task of cutting government programs or reallocating resources more effectively. As a special government employee, Musk operated under specific federal guidelines, which included a limitation on the number of days he could work. He was restricted to 130 workdays per year, a cap that was reportedly approaching as his departure was announced. This unique status allowed him to contribute his expertise without becoming a full-time government official, theoretically enabling him to balance these duties with his responsibilities at his companies. The arrangement was seen by some as an ideal way to tap into private sector talent, while others questioned the potential for conflicts of interest or the efficacy of such part-time, high-level advisory roles in achieving substantial, lasting change. Upon his appointment, there was a palpable sense of anticipation. supporters believed Musk could genuinely disrupt the often stagnant processes of government finance, potentially saving taxpayers billions of dollars through innovative thinking and a no-nonsense approach. Detractors, however, were wary of his lack of governmental experience and his sometimes abrasive style, fearing it might not translate well to the nuanced world of public policy and political compromise. His 4-month tenure would ultimately provide ammunition for both viewpoints, demonstrating both the potential and the inherent challenges of such an unconventional appointment in the nation's capital. The initial promise was significant, but the path proved to be far from smooth. Elon Musk's 4 months in Washington were marked by a series of events that underscored his disruptive approach to problem-solving, an approach that often clashed with the established norms of government. From the outset, he was reported to have challenged existing protocols and questioned long-standing assumptions, which, while intended to spur efficiency, also created friction with some career officials and even members of the administration. His methods, often described as direct and unyielding, were a stark contrast to the typically more diplomatic and consensus-driven processes prevalent in federal agencies. This led to an environment where his every move was scrutinized, and his interactions often became a subject of intense discussion. One of the defining characteristics of his tenure was his willingness to engage in public debate and criticism, even regarding matters directly related to his advisory role. He reportedly clashed with other administration officials on several occasions, particularly over the pace and scope of the proposed spending cuts under the DOGE initiative. While he had President Trump's backing, navigating the broader bureaucratic landscape and aligning various departmental interests proved to be a significant hurdle. His impatience with traditional governmental inertia was frequently apparent, leading to reports of frustration on both sides of these interactions, as established figures grappled with his unconventional demands for rapid change. A pivotal moment during his advisory period involved his vocal criticism of a Republican-backed bill. Musk argued that this particular piece of legislation, if passed, would fundamentally undermine the spending cuts proposed by the DOGE initiative. He took to social media and other platforms to voice his strong opposition, a move that was seen as highly unusual for a government advisor, especially one criticizing a bill supported by members of the president's own party. This public dissent reportedly strained relationships further and highlighted the inherent difficulties he faced in trying to implement his vision within a complex political system that often prioritizes compromise over radical overhaul. These disagreements were not isolated incidents, but rather part of a pattern that defined his brief government service. His disruptive tactics, while perhaps effective in the fast-paced tech world, often ran into the intricate web of political considerations, established interests, and legislative processes that characterize Washington. The constant pushback and the slow pace of change likely contributed to a growing sense that his role was becoming untenable, despite his initial commitment and the president's support. The 4 months were a whirlwind, reshaping some conversations but also demonstrating the formidable obstacles to implementing radical change from within the existing governmental structure. The official reason for Elon Musk's departure, as he stated, was that his scheduled time was ending, a reference to the nearing 130-workday limit for special government employees. This statutory limitation provides a convenient and plausible explanation for his exit. However, beyond this technicality, there were other significant factors likely influencing his decision. Weeks of speculation had preceded the announcement, fueled by reports of his growing frustration. Furthermore, pressing business concerns, particularly at Tesla, which has been grappling with declining sales figures and a falling stock price, undoubtedly demanded more of his attention, making continued engagement in Washington less feasible. For the government, Musk's departure raises immediate questions about the future of the DOGE initiative. Without its most high-profile champion, there's a risk the initiative could lose momentum or be significantly watered down. While President Trump had supported Musk, it remains to be seen whether another figure with similar drive and willingness to challenge the status quo will be found. The experience may serve as a case study for future administrations considering similar appointments from the private sector. For Elon Musk himself, stepping away from the formal advisory role allows him to refocus entirely on his considerable business interests. Tesla, in particular, requires strong leadership to navigate increasing competition and market headwinds. His foray into government, though brief, has added another dimension to his public persona, perhaps reinforcing his image as an outsider unwilling to compromise on his principles. His influence, however, will likely continue to be felt through his vast social media presence and his company's impact on policy. Ultimately, Musk's short tenure in Washington was a fascinating experiment. His departure leaves both opportunities and uncertainties. Washington must decide how it will carry forward the impetus for deep spending reforms. Musk, freed from government constraints, returns to his familiar territory of innovation and corporate leadership. We invite you to share your thoughts. What do you make of his time in government? Thank you for joining us for this analysis.